So I alone am responsible for any weaknesses that could have been presented for a short seller to start to take profit.
Do Kwon, the creator of Terra, recently gave us interviews since his cryptocurrency project spectacularly crashed in May, causing many people to lose their whole life savings and their faith in so-called stablecoins. Here are some of the best highlights of his declarations.
If it's called a stablecoin and its point is to be stable, someone could look at UST and say, this product did nothing. Does that make you an Elizabeth Holmes?
I don't think so.
Why not?
4 years ago, Do Kwon was just a Stanford grad from South Korea with a dream to revolutionize the global economy. Fast forward to today, and some have dubbed him the Elizabeth Holmes of crypto. Investors around the world have accused him of defrauding them out of their life savings, and investigators in Korea are circling his case. Can we trust Do Kwon? What did he know and when? And does how Terra failed rise to the level of fraud? But first, we need to understand why Terra imploded. Titanic, the Hindenburg, Terra. All great promises, all great failures. Now, did the Titanic sinking prove all boats will hit icebergs? Of course not. Did the Hindenburg's implosion stop all of us from using blimps every day in dozens of real-world use cases? It's complicated. But if you were standing at the fiery scene of the crash, your first instinct probably wouldn't be to say, you know what the Hindenburg's problem was? It wasn't big enough. But in the case of currencies like Terra, that actually kinda was the problem. Look, I'm not gonna lie, this is a complicated story, and that's kinda half the point. When things go wrong, those complications can be pretty convenient to hide behind. But the idea at the core of this story is simple. Your money should be controlled by you. You shouldn't have to rely on centralized authorities like traditional banks to access it. It's the same idea that gave rise to Bitcoin and Ethereum. There's just one problem. Their prices are famously volatile. Enter stablecoins, literally designed to keep the value of their coins stable, usually by pegging it to a price of $1. To pull that off, most stablecoins claim to be backed by an equivalent amount of actual US dollars. But that undercuts the whole idea of not relying on the traditional banking system or centralized institutions in the first place. In other words, if your blimp can't actually fly on its own, did you really build a blimp?
To see it all play out in a span of 72 hours, were you even surprised at how quickly it unraveled?
I just didn't think this would happen. Thinking about this and then trying to build this ecosystem and community was basically what I spent the last 5 years on every waking moment. I just haven't found the words to describe, what that feels like. But I'm sure that a lot of people in the community that lost their money, life savings, and different projects that we're building on top of Terra probably went through similar and it's quite possibly worse experiences.
Trust is at the core, I think, ironically, in a lot of these trustless systems. It does come down to do you trust the people running these things? What do you say is the thing to, no, you can trust me?
I think if you were in this for personal benefit, that is probably the dumbest way to try to get that personal benefit as possible. Why put in 5 years, stake your entire reputation, name your daughter Luna, and then just have, for a brief moment in time, be the most hated person on the internet? And I think in terms of, healing wounds, the best that I can do is to just be upfront with, everything that happened, just admit that I was wrong.
It was pretty elaborate in the way that it worked. Yield-bearing stablecoins were a thing. Anchor comes around though, and it's not 8%, it's 20%. And it sounded like when that was set up, there were maybe some employees that were a little uncomfortable with the idea of 20%. It was far higher than what was out there.
Actually, just to set the record straight, sort of the internal consensus of what people wanted to do with the interest rate was several thousand% APR, really? With Anchor in the beginning. And it's not a function of them thinking, trying to make things unsustainable is a good idea. So what was a lower interest rate in the beginning turned out to be, pretty high.
There's also another operation going on behind the scenes, though, at the same time. That did seem, I guess, different from what the original promise of UST and Luna always was, which was it was an algorithmic stablecoin that functioned perfectly without the need for a reserve.
So we felt that by adding multiple different types of collateral, starting with Bitcoin, UST had a real chance to become the decentralized money for all of crypto.
But I'm curious where that kind of plan came from and what made you want to introduce that at that time.
So we started to do that with Bitcoin because we believe that it's the most resilient, the least biased digital currency on the planet. If we were optimizing for like economic stability, we probably would have built up a reserve in stablecoins, other stablecoins. I think on some other level, I believe too strongly in Bitcoin. I honestly didn't think it would fall this much. And I know that, from time to time in its history, Bitcoin has gone down 80% every now and then. But my thinking back then was like the amount of economic output that's been built in crypto, the amount of people that have come in and started to build in this industry is unparalleled compared to all the other points in time. I felt like it was starting to display resilience as a decentralized, pristine type of commodity. But I was wrong.
What do you tell the people that were impacted by this?
Yeah, so after the chain halted, I spent a couple of days calling a lot of the people that I'd personally talked to in the Terra community. The calls were rough.
But this is a pretty important question. If it's called a stable coin and its point is to be stable, someone could look at UST and say, this product did nothing.
Yeah,
fair or not fair?
I think the right analogy there would be if like the blood testers were working for a while and then after some time it just totally stopped working, then I would think it would be the same analogy. But this is different, right? Like the blood testers never worked and then she lied about it and then said that they did. For Terra stablecoins, it was working beautifully throughout the entire history that it was. And the fact that it was working perfectly was visible in the order books and was present in all the integrations in the open source and transparent manner of crypto until it stopped working.
In terms of, you're not trying to prove a conspiracy here, but someone attacking the community, it was, this is the time to strike and take this thing down. And if that's the case, it's a little bit more calculated.
Yeah, so if you're asking me whether there was a mole at TFL, that's probably yes. Whether somebody tried to take advantage of that particular opportunity, I would say that the answer is yes. But if those opportunities existed, then the blame is on the person that presented those vulnerabilities in the first place.
Who is that?
That's me, right? So I and I alone am responsible for any weaknesses that could have been presented for a short seller to start to take profit.
What are the main information to review about this interview? Since the spectacular collapse of Terra's USD and Luna cryptocurrencies lost approximately $45 billion in value within 72 hours, this is Kwon's first time sitting down on the record. This interview is about a lengthy discussion on the contentious events leading up to and during the historic crash and how Kwon is dealing with more and more active probes. In addition, Kwon mulls over the prospect of a Terra mole, the complaints of investors and investigators, and if it's appropriate to refer to him as the Elizabeth Holmes of crypto by some. If you ever like this video, please press the like button right below the video to help the channel with the YouTube algorithm. Don't forget that every week new videos about decentralized finance and cryptocurrencies are published, so feel free to subscribe and press the bell for a notification. Thanks for watching the video, have a great day and see you soon!